If you've got tight shoulders, then you might go to your typical stretches where you're pulling on the muscles and holding there for 30 seconds. But in this video, I'm going to show you 3 unique exercises to release your tight shoulders that will give you longer lasting relief. Coach E from Precision Movement here, and I've got a really quick video where I just want to dive into 3 exercises to help you release tight shoulders. Now, we're not going to go into diagnosing why your shoulders are tight, but I wanted to show you these exercises that I've been using recently that I've found really beneficial. Now, you will need some equipment for these exercises. The first exercise will require a ball, either a massage ball or a tennis ball works, or even a golf ball. If you don't find that, just something fairly firm that's not going to cut you will work well. The second exercise, you can use a variety of pieces of equipment. I use my tennis racket because I use it to warm up for tennis and get my body ready for tennis. But you could use a stick, a towel, a t-shirt, something just to grab onto. The final exercise you'll need a longer stick for, so I use my hockey stick, but you could use a broomstick or a long branch. If you live in a foresty area, go find a long branch, that'll work. So these exercises, they will work on your tight shoulders through 3 different mechanisms, and I'm going to explain those as we go through the techniques. So let's get right to it. Exercise number 1 is active self-myofascial release for your upper back muscles. Now, some of the muscles you might be hitting are your middle trapezius, your rhomboids, or your infraspinatus, and also maybe your teres major, depending on how big it is. Now, this technique can be really painful when you use a harder massage ball. This is really solid, this ball. So you might want to start with something softer like a tennis ball. But if you are a bit of a sadist and you want to just go for it, then use that massage ball. The areas you're going to work are, again, the muscular areas. So right beside the spine, not right on top of the spine, but beside the spine. That'll hit the middle trapezius and the rhomboids, up and down this area in the upper back. You can also go right on top of the shoulder blade, and that's where you're going to get into the infraspinatus and the teres major. I suggest you move to 4 or 5 different areas when you do this technique and spend at least a minute, but up to 2 minutes doing it. So you place your body over the ball, and the first thing you want to do is you want to relax as much as you can. So just right here, you're going to get some release. Now from here, once you're sufficiently relaxed, all you're going to do is a few big circles with your arm nice and slow, keeping your elbow straight, sweeping right down on the ground. Do maybe 2 or 3 big circles in one direction, and the whole time you're trying to breathe, and then you switch directions. So you're trying to keep the muscles that are resting on the ball as relaxed as you can, and work your arm through its full range of motion. So there, I've got one area I kind of hit in here, middle trapezius, rhomboid, and now I'm going to go to a different area. I'll put it right on the shoulder blade there, infraspinatus, and same thing. So settle down, relax, breathing, and then once you're relaxed, you do big, slow circles, keeping your weight on the ball and keeping the muscles that are over the ball as relaxed as possible. And you do 2 or 3 in one direction, and then 2 or 3 in the other direction. Like so. Very simple technique. And what this does is it releases any tension that you might have in those muscles, the rhomboids, middle trapezius, shoulder blade muscles. And when you move it around, you're getting that active release. Your own muscles are moving the shoulder, and by pinning the muscle over top of this ball, any of those tissues between the ball and between where the movement is occurring, which is the shoulder joint, can get pulled on and released. And it's beneficial because you're not just stretching. You are neuromuscularly integrating this pattern, and you're creating a release. And because you're actively doing it, that release has a better chance of lasting longer. So this technique is great, and it works on the tissue quality pillar, those 4 pillars to pain-free movement that I talk about in the programs that I have. Do this again for, could be up to 2 minutes, 3 to 5 different areas, 2 to 3 big circles. Do them slowly in each direction, and you could test right after it, and you could see, oh, that feels better, or I need some more. And regardless of whether it feels better or you need some more, let's try the second exercise. I call exercise 2 the back scratch ERE, which stands for end range expansion. And this technique is great if you're working the overhead range of motion, like you're a tennis player and serving, volleyball player, basketball player, anybody who lifts your arms overhead, this is going to be really beneficial for you. Now this works on the muscle activation and the active range of motion pillars for pain-free movement. So these are 2 of the 4 pillars you're getting with this technique. Now you'll need a tennis racket. I use this before I play tennis as a warm-up to get me ready for serving, but you could use a stick or a towel or a shirt, just something that you can grab onto like so, where you can grab with your other hand. So for this technique, you just reach over, get up as high as you can actively, let my elbow bend and relax here, and then I grab the racket or whatever it is you're using with the other hand. Now a lot of stretches, you'll find towel stretches where I'm pulling down with this hand to stretch this arm and shoulder. The technique we're doing is the exact opposite. And the reason why is because we don't want just passive pulling on tissues. We want our body to be able to get into that range of motion actively and to stabilize that range of motion. That's why techniques like this give you better results and results that last, and also are better at injury prevention before sports or activities. So you're reaching up overhead, and then I'm going to grab the racket here, and the first thing I'm doing is I'm pushing downwards, like I'm trying to get the racket to the floor into my hand. So I'm activating those muscles that lift me up into this overhead position. I'm activating the biceps, the shoulders, keeping my neck relaxed, and I'm holding this for about 10 to 15 seconds. Breathing, and then I gradually relax, and I do the opposite. I pull upwards against my hand, so I'm resisting. I'm working this end range of motion, and I'm resisting motion, but I'm activating those muscles that would pull me out. So here it's my triceps, my lats a little bit. Again, 10 to 15 seconds, breathing, neck is relaxed. And finish off with one more, pushing down towards the floor, bending the elbow, lifting the elbow to the sky. 10 to 15 seconds. It's work. It's not easy. Breathing, neck is relaxed, not over exerting through the back muscles. And then gradually relax and bring it back. And this one is a little more fatiguing. It's a little more work. But what you'll find is you'll unlock a greater range of motion and you'll have warmed up the muscles. So it's a great technique to use before sport where you're going to use this range of motion. You need stability, strength, and power in that range. Do anywhere from 2 to 4 repetitions, again, holding each activation for 10 to 15 seconds. Do both sides to keep yourself in balance, and then test your shoulder, see how they feel when you move around. If it feels looser, it might feel a little fatigued at first, but you'll recover quickly. But if it feels looser, awesome. Regardless, move on to the last technique, because this is a great technique to put what we've worked on previously together. The third and final exercise I'm going to show you today to release your tight shoulders, I call stick circles. And being a Canadian, I can't help myself, but use a hockey stick to demonstrate this. But you could use a broomstick, or like I said earlier, you could use a tree branch, as long as it's not too heavy. For this technique, you will take a fairly wide grip on the stick that you have. And again, this is a technique that you'll see it done, or you've seen it done before. You might have tried it before, but there's a subtle difference in the way that I cue it and the way that I show you how to do it right now. So here, what you're doing is you're keeping both elbows straight, and you want to keep minimum tension on pulling the stick. So what I mean by that is when you're going around in the circle around the head, I'm not pulling necessarily and stretching passively one arm with the other arm, but I'm trying to keep tension on the stick minimum in terms of pulling the stick apart or pressing the stick together. I'm trying to lift and move both arms together to do the circle, to activate those muscles through this full range of motion. So I'm not pulling on the stick. There's no tension on the stick. I'm almost have a really light grip. You can see my hands, just kind of grabbing it between my thumb and my index finger, keeping the elbow straight the whole time. And I'm using those shoulder muscles to move through this full range of motion. So once you do about 4 to 6 repetitions in one direction, do 4 to 6 repetitions in the other direction. Elbows stay straight, nice and tall through your spine, chin is tucked. And I'm just moving the shoulders in unison around to activate them through this full range of motion. And this works the active range of motion pillar. And it's a great technique because it works your shoulders through a large range of motion. And it works something that I call reciprocal movement. So as one shoulder is doing one movement, the other shoulder is doing kind of the opposite movement. It's kind of like walking and running, where one arm is doing one movement going forwards, while simultaneously the other arm moves back. And this is something that I term functional integration, where you're integrating the body in a way that is functional and transfers to everyday life, sport, or just general movement patterns that are good for the brain and the body. So this, again, it's a slightly different way that I teach it, but in my opinion, it's a more effective way to wake up those muscles and to build a movement pattern that is functional and that lasts, as opposed to if I'm just pulling on it and I'm trying to pull my other arm around, and I'm bending and I'm passively stretching, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but without the active component, we are not getting length through the muscle that's going to last, because any passive stretching is akin to joint instability, and your brain doesn't like that. Your brain likes strong, stable joints, because that helps to prevent injury, as opposed to unstable joints, which increase the risk of injury. To summarize the exercise we went through today, we started with active self-myofascial release for the upper back. Do that for 1 to 2 minutes per side, hitting 3 to 5 areas and doing 2 to 3 circles in each direction. Next, we went to the back scratch ERE. Do 2 to 4 reps per side, and each activation is 10 to 15 seconds long. Finally, we ended with stick circles. Do 2 sets of 4 to 6 circles per direction, and perform this routine daily for 1 to 2 weeks, and you'll feel your shoulders loosen right up. So there you have the 3 techniques. What I'd love to hear is if you've done these along with me, or if you try them out, let me know how they feel in the comments down below. I've got a couple other videos for you. We've got front shoulder pain. If you've got pain here, I've got a video for you that's really good. If you've got tightness more through the chest muscles, through the pecs, then check out this video for techniques similar to this, at least based on the concepts. And then if you do have general shoulder pain that's been bothering you for a while, make sure you get that shoulder pain solution program. Check it out right here. It's helped thousands of people fix their shoulder pain. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.